Hello, I am Lead Detective Ava Rogers, and today I'll be focusing on the stolen vehicle case. For some basics of the case, David Cuddy was filing a stolen vehicle, specifically a 2013 Chrysler Town and Country van with the tag EBW123, report against someone known as Ace. He allowed Ace to borrow the vehicle for a reasonable time frame to drive to Walmart to see his girlfriend. Ace had the vehicle for 2 days from January 28th to January 30th, and Cuddy decided to press charges against Ace. Another officer followed up with Cuddy on the 30th of January with text messages between him and Ace. These messages confirmed that A, Ace does have the vehicle, and B, he claims he will return it but keeps giving on false locations. And C, he declares that the police should not be present upon return. A second follow-up was conducted on February 2nd. Here, the vehicle was impounded and returned to Cuddy. However, when they found the vehicle outside the motel, they found a Miss Leslie Cohen in the passenger seat. She wasn't in possession of the vehicle. She was not under the driver's side, but she also did not have the keys. She was later extradited to conduct an in-person interview with me on March 5th. She was compliant and revealed much information on the case. To start with information on suspect Ace, he was identified as a black male around the ages 26-27 years old, no recognizable tattoos that she could see. He had been referred to as a Mike or Michael and is possession of 2 phones, which he often uses to conduct his drug deals. Ms. Cohen believes him to have currently have the keys, and throughout their time together, which to Ms. Cohen is only about a dozen or so times, Ace has been the sole person to drive the vehicle. They have more of a disconnected relationship, with her being simply a lookout for police in exchange for drugs. In this case, it's specifically heroin. Looking more so on Miss Leslie Cohen, the witness, she is a drug abuser and she gets her drugs from Ace. She does not have a driver's license and does not presently know where Ace is. At the time of the crime, it was around 2 p.m. when her and Ace were finished selling drugs. He was about to drive her back to her house over close to that Walmart when she asked to have more heroin. This does mean she ended up passing out and does not remember most of the drive, if any of the drive. She knows Ace texts a lot, but is not familiar with the messages between him and Cuddy in particular. And during the interview, she did not display any concerning body behavior or language behaviors that may indicate inaccurate findings. She also gave us some information on the victim, David. David Cuddy has Leslie Cohen's phone number and is aware of how her and Ace are actually using his vehicle. Cuddy lives with his mother, so the car could be under his name or under his mother's name. And again, Cuddy allows him to use the vehicle in exchange for drugs, which has happened, again, to Ms. Cohen's knowledge, about 12 times. There is also further evidence to support why Ace is the primary suspect. We're going to be focusing on the text messages. The text messages suspect misleading information and awareness of the extended time of the vehicle possession. The repeated use of such offenses and ominous behaviors can imply a further motive on Ace's case. Ms. Cohen has said that each time he has been the only person to drive the vehicle, and keys are most likely with him. To take action, we have sufficient information to find Ace and should interview him as soon as possible. We can also locate him based off the description I previously mentioned. Additionally, we need to focus on looking at David Cuddy and assess his involvement in the drug use and dealing. Overall, we determine the individual's roles and intentions in this stolen vehicle crime. When it comes to Ace's interrogation, I think we should start out with a strong rapport, start with a non-accusatory tone, and give him time to settle in and feel comfortable opening up, as he has significant information that we must highlight. Focusing on asking him where the vehicle was, if he knew the vehicle was reported stolen, his relationship to Cuddy, where the keys are, how him and Ms. Cohen arrived at the motel, why were they there in the first place, why did he feel it necessary to give them false location to the vehicle. Additionally, we should also probably press him on using the vehicle to determine the use of drug distribution. With Cuddy, though, again, we focus on his correlation with Ace, who the vehicle was registered under, the past involvement between him and Ace in these excursions, and I would ask him how this time differed from his previous times and arrangements. Keep in mind, Cuddy was given drugs as payment, so he should be asked if there were any deals made in exchange for use of the car. However, at the beginning, again, we should remain non-accusatory, let him settle in, feel comfortable to open up and give us details, and be sure to also, for both Cuddy and Ace, analyze their nonverbal behaviors and body language to assess their innocence and guilt. Also, to look at attachments, we need to be sure to often reference back to the text messages between David Cuddy and Ace The content from Ms. Cohen's interview is also documented, so you may want to examine their issues and their answers after my briefing. Keep in mind that according to legal statutes, this case would clearly fall under a theft, and with the price range, it might even be considered a felony. It explains how theft occurs if one knowingly obtains or uses the property of another temporarily or permanently. Ace was technically given permission to use the vehicle with a limited time frame. However, the text messages suggest alleged use of deception of vehicle location and intent on keeping the vehicle. As an overview, David Cuddy reported his vehicle as stolen by Ace. Leslie Cohen in her interview says that Cuddy is aware of the true use of his car and even receives drugs as a form of payment. Based on the text messages between Cuddy and Ace, as well as the interview provided by Ms. Cohen, there is substantial evidence to support Ace being the primary suspect of taking the vehicle in the stolen case. However, Cuddy and Ace need to be individually interviewed to determine each of their involvement in the possible expansion of a stolen vehicle case into a drug possession and distribution. Thank you.